We're continuing with our introduction to algebra, and now we're going to be looking at terms. Specifically, we're going to be looking at like terms. We want to see which terms match. Now remember that a term is a product of letters and numbers together, variables and constants, and if there's going to be two like terms, they have to have identical variable parts. So for example, the 2xy is going to match with the 6yx and the xy. They both have a pair of an x and a y variable portion. Then we could take the x squared terms. There are three of them: negative 3x squared, positive 1x squared, and 2x squared. Notice the coefficient on that x squared term that doesn't have a number is understood to be 1. We have a couple of constant terms, 7 and negative 3, and a couple of stragglers there, m and negative y squared, which don't have any partners. So here are lists of terms, and we want to try matching them up. Now, this asks you to write them as sets of like terms, so we're going to put them in set brackets. We have the negative 7n matching with the 12n, 5m, and the 8m. Sorry, let's do the constants first. 8, negative 2, and negative 10, and then the 5m and the 8m. Our next group, we have the x matching with the negative 2x. We have a negative xy matching with the yx, and the y doesn't have any like term, the negative x squared doesn't have any like term, and the constant 8 doesn't have any like term. Now be careful in question C because there is an exponent in there, and you have to match the exponent with the proper letter. For example, 3a squared b, the square is on the a, and the b has a no exponent, or it's understood to be a 1. So that's going to match with the 2ba squared. The squared is on the a. The next pair I look at, well, it's got the a squared term, but it doesn't actually have a b, so it's got to be its own group. And the two left over have the b squared and the squared on the b and the a single. That's called writing them as sets of like terms. Now, the last thing we're going to try to do is how to combine these. Combining like terms means that we can actually put them together by combining their coefficients. So right away, let's remember the terms are separated by plus and minus signs, but I want you to think of everything as being added. So those minuses that you see, you're going to treat like negative signs on the terms as we add. So the first thing we're going to try and do with these things is to reorder them. If you put them in the order where they're kind of side by side, you'll recognize the like terms better. And remember that when you move those terms, the negative sign stays with the term. So that negative on the negative x moves to the front, and the negative on the 5y moves after it. Now we combine the like terms. Remember that the 3x and the negative 1x can be subtracting the coefficients. The negative 5 and negative 7 give you that 12, and the positive 2's come together to give the positive 4. And the variable parts remain the same. In the next one, I reorder the terms. Take a look at those signs. The sign to the left of the number stays with that term. You get the like terms, you can combine the coefficients together. So the 7 and the 2 make the 9, the 5 and the negative 9 make the negative 4, and the constant terms cancel each other out. Adding polynomials is the same sort of thing, except you have to remember that a polynomial is a group of terms, usually grouped in a bracket. And so we're basically using the associative property and the commutative property to allow us to reorder the terms and combine them. So the first question has two trinomials added, and the second one has 3 binomials added. Now, since there's no multiplier on the bracket and there's no subtraction in front of the bracket, these questions are a little easier. So our first step is simply remove the bracket. Nothing changes. Secondly, we try and put these in order. We want the like terms together. Then we combine those like terms and we get a trinomial at the end of it all. In the next group, after I remove the bracket, watch out though, because I see a double sign on that 8, the plus negative 8, and we don't like double signs. So what we do then is combine them using the multiplication rule, and we have a single sign. Now we reorder the terms, and combine the coefficients according to addition of integers. So the first three terms combine the next two, the x terms, and the negative 8 doesn't have a partner. The step where we reorder the terms is something that we're going to end up leaving out. After a little more experience, you'll understand that that's not necessary. Let's take a look at the next slide. These are just some practice examples, so you can try these on your own, and it's the same kind of deal. Watch out removing the brackets, and I'll just flip through here to give you the solutions. Remember that when you're doing the like terms, sometimes it helps to circle or underline to match them up. And you have to be sure to include the sign with the term when you're combining them. And at the end of it all, oh, don't forget the equal signs in the front. And at the end of it all, you make sure that there aren't any like terms left over. Make sure that you haven't left anything as you go through. Now, the order of the terms doesn't matter. And so when you're putting these together, just make sure, we generally try to put the constant term at the end. All right, hopefully this helps, and have a good day.